Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Recha Kodesh. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Job, the 6th chapter. It says here, "But Job answered and said, Oh, that my grief were thoroughly weighed, and my calamity laid in the balances together. For now it would be heavier than the sand of the sea. Therefore my words are swallowed up." So if only you could weigh the amount of stress and grief that I'm in right now in a balance. And even if you were to carry all of the sands of the sea, and on the other side of the balance, you'd see that my grief is much heavier than that. Once again, metaphorically speaking here, to express the deep and great sorrow and grief that he was in. As he says, therefore my words are swallowed up. When you go into that swallowed up, it's basically, that's why his words are like rash, right? The word here says, it says to swallow, figuratively to be rash. Okay, so that's why he's speaking like that, because of how much grief and stress he is in, or he is under. "For the arrows of the Almighty are within me. I have been struck with the arrows of the Almighty. The poison whereof drinketh up my spirit," i.e., he's infected by the poison of the Lord's arrows. And it's figuratively speaking to say, like, he's been, he's getting, for lack of a better word, attacked or facing judgment at the hand of the Lord. Let's call it that. Say that. "The terrors of God doth set themselves in array against me. Doth the wild ass bray when he hath grass? Or loweth the ox over his fodder?" So as he's saying here, if a wild ass had grass to eat, would it cry out? Or if an ox had fodder or provender to eat, would it low, which is like to cry? No, right? So clearly they cry out because something is wrong. And that's his point here, that he's not just if nothing was wrong, if he understood what was going on and this was justified, then he would understand. But he wouldn't be speaking as he is. That's Job. But he feels like, there's something wrong here. Verse 6, can that which is unsavory be eaten without salt? Or is there any taste in the white of an egg, which is an egg white? And these are rhetorical questions. "The things that my soul refused to touch are as my sorrowful meat." So he's basically saying here, the things that I would have, never, and he's not talking about literally eating here, but he's just saying the things that I would never have desired to partake of, right? When it talks about my soul refused to touch, have now become my sorrowful meat. Has become the things that I now have to deal with, right? Sorrowfully, of course. "Oh, that I might have my request, and that God would grant me the thing that I long for," which is that rest. Okay, and in Job's mind, he's like, at this point, it's so bad that death is the only release or solution for this pain and suffering that he's going through. "Even that it would please God to destroy me, that he would loose his hand and cut me off," right? That he wouldn't hold back and just destroy me, just kill me, take me off the planet. "Then should I yet have comfort? Yea, I would harden myself in sorrow. Let him not spare, for I have not concealed the words of the Holy One." Right? So if the Lord would just end it for me, so I wouldn't have to keep suffering, then I would be, I'll have comfort, right? I would endure. When it says I would harden myself in sorrow, I would endure the pain just to know that at least, the Lord would spare me of this suffering. For, as he says, I have not concealed the words of the Holy One, right? I haven't, spoken evil against the Lord. I haven't perverted his words, right? Or corrupted it or hidden any truth of the Lord. "What is my strength that I should hope?" So what strength do I have to even hope for? "And what is mine end that I should prolong my life?" What else is there in life to want to live for? "Is my strength the strength of stones? Or is my flesh of brass?" And he's saying this rhetorically to highlight his mortal nature, right? Am I as strong in terms of like hardening as stones or as brass? Is not my help in me, and is wisdom driven quite from me? And let's read this in another translation for a bit more clarity. um, verse NLT, it says here, "No, I am utterly helpless, without any chance of success." NIV, "Do I have any power to help myself now that success has been driven from me? To him that is afflicted, pity should be shewed from his friend, but he forsaketh the fear of the Almighty." So he's saying here that, remember, he's having a dialogue with his friends, right? And as he's saying, I'm going through it, and instead of accusing me or trying to explain away, right, that justifying why I might go through something like this, you should be showing pity, right? You should try to understand my situation. NLT, it says, "One should be kind to a fainting friend, but you accuse me without any fear of the Almighty." NIV, "Anyone who withholds kindness from a friend forsakes the fear of the Almighty." Now, in the KJV and the NKJV, it's worded more so like in the NKJV, it says, "To him who is afflicted, kindness should be shown by his friend, even though he forsakes the fear of the Almighty." But we know here that Job is not forsaking the fear of the Lord, right? But I guess we might be making a point that even if that was the case, kindness should be showed to him. But as you see in some of the other translations, is worded more so as, if by not showing that kindness, you're forsaking the fear of the Lord. Verse 15, because it's kind of like this could happen to you as well, right? And if it happened to you, you would want kindness to be showed to you. "My brethren have dealt deceitfully as a brook." And now he's speaking against his friends because they're not understanding, right, what he's going through. So it says here, "My brethren have dealt deceitfully as a brook, and as the stream of brooks they pass by." A brook is like a channel of water. So this is what he likens them onto, "which are blackish by reason of the ice, and wherein the snow is hid." The NLT says, when it dealing with the comparing them to be a stream, right? It says here, "When darkened," in the NIV, "when darkened by thawing ice and swollen with melting snow." Or in the NLT, it says, "when it is swollen with ice and melting snow." So he's saying he's likening them onto a stream of water that is swollen with ice and melting snow. It says here, "When what time they wax warm, they vanish." So it's kind of like saying you're unreliable, right? Like you're like a stream of water that freezes in the cold, and then when it's warm, you disappear, right? When it's warm, they vanish. When it is hot, they are consumed out of their place. So when I come looking for water, you frozen. When you not frozen, you're if I came looking for ice, you'd be liquid. If I came looking for liquid, you would be, and it was hot out, then there's nothing there. You've been dried out by the heat. That's why he likens them to that that brook. "The paths of their way are turned aside; they go to nothing and perish." And when you go into this is dealing with to highlight his point of their unreliability. I believe it's the word paths. It says here, when for traveler or wayfarer, right? So he's saying here, if a wayfarer, right, was to turn aside to come to this brook, right, they go to nothing and perish because they were looking for water. They wouldn't be able to get anything from there. That's the kind of brook that you're likened onto. "The troops of Tema looked, and companies of Sheba waited for them," that is, for this water of this brook. "They were confounded because they had hoped. They came thither and were ashamed because they found no water. For now ye are nothing. Ye see my casting down and are afraid." So you came here to so-called help me, but the things you're saying is not helping. Okay. Did I bring on to did I say bring on to me or give a reward for me of your substance? Did I ask you for anything? Or deliver me from the enemy's hand? Or redeem me from the hand of the mighty? Teach me, and I will hold my tongue, and cause me to understand wherein I have heard. So go ahead, explain it. Explain to me what it is that I've done wrong, where I've transgressed, and I'll stop talking. How forcible are right words, but what doth your arguing reprove? In the NLT, it says, honest words can be painful, but what do your criticisms amount to? So you ain't making no points out here. Verse 26, do ye imagine to reprove words and the speeches of one that is desperate, which are as wind? So Job is saying, like, of course, me being in this desperate position, I'm going to speak the way I'm speaking. Are you going to rebuke me for that? Yea, ye overwhelm the fatherless, and ye dig a pit for your friend. Meaning you would justify a situation to overwhelm the fatherless, right? Or and when it says to dig a pit for your friend, when you look at it in some of the other translations, it's like basically to sell out a friend, right? Or as it says here, CSB, no doubt you would cast lots for a fatherless child and negotiate a price to sell your friend. ESV, you would even cast lots over the fatherless and bargain over your friend. So that's how Job was feeling. Now therefore be content, look upon me, for it is evident unto you if I lie. So basically, like, if I was lying, if I had done something, wouldn't you be able to tell? Wouldn't you know that I was lying? So as he's saying, explain to me what it is that I've done to deserve this. Return, I pray you, let it not be iniquity. Yea, return again, my righteousness is in it. In the NKJV, yield now, let there be no injustice. Yes, concede, my righteousness still stands. NLT, stop assuming my guilt, for I have done no wrong. Verse 30, is there iniquity in my tongue? Cannot my taste discern perverse things? So as he's saying, like, do I not know, or would I not know if I did something wrong? Do I not know how to discern what is right from wrong? So basically, this chapter, Job speaks back, right, against his friends, right, as he feels that they are not, they're not getting it, right. They're more so trying to emphasize that, hey, this would only happen to you if you were guilty of something. But Job stands by the fact that he doesn't believe he is guilty of doing anything to deserve this. And that brings us to the end of the book of Job, the 6th chapter. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Recha Kodash. And until next time, Shalom.